If you guys don't remember, I'm going to give you some context before we bring up the news story. So this is an old story from October 2025. Just to give you some context as to what's going on with Remedy. So if you don't know who Remedy is the companies behind Alan Wake and the game Control, okay? Obviously, they also have the Max Payne, IP and all that stuff. But anyway, so Remedy is known for Alan Wake, especially now. And they made some decisions over the last couple of years that have lost them quite a bit of money. Alan Wake 2 lost them money for a long time until they basically dragged their feet to a break-even point, which took about a year plus to do. And that's because they released the game exclusively on Epic Games Store. And on top of that, obviously, with the whole, SBI involvement and things like that, it really hurt the game's overall performance. But the thing that really cost Remedy its money was FBC Firebreak, okay? Now, when I covered FBC Firebreak multiple times, I said that the things they need to do, there's 3 things they need to do, okay? If Remedy wants to fix their problems, there is 3 things that they need to do immediately. Number 1, they need to cancel FBC Firebreak. Just throw it out. Just throw it in the garbage. They need to cancel FBC Firebreak, lick their wounds, and move on and stop wasting money. Number 2, they need to release Alan Wake 2 on Steam. I know they're not going to because they have a deal with Epic. I know that. But I'm just telling you what they need to do because that would make them a good amount of money. Because even though the game has a lot of changes people don't agree with, at the end of the day, the game will sell on Steam. 100%. And the last thing they need to do is they need to do the Max Payne remakes that they're saying they're working on. They need to do that so unbelievably faithful to the original games and release one hell of a banger remake. If that remake is not a banger, they could go fuck themselves. But regardless, I already know they're going to censor it and shit. Regardless, those are the 3 things they need to do, and that will make them some money pretty damn quickly, in my opinion. But we all know they're not going to do any of those things. They're not going to remake Max Payne in any faithful way. I have very little faith in that. They're also not going to cancel FBC Firebreak anytime soon, although I feel like they're getting close to because they have no choice. And they're damn sure not going to release Alan Wake 2 on Steam for obvious reasons, right? So they're kind of within a rock and a hard place. Now, they are releasing Control, the second Control, which did look interesting. I believe it's following her brother now, but I'm not exactly sure. But that did look interesting, that game. So we'll follow that as time goes on. But regardless, FBC Firebreak really, 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 really hurt Remedy really bad. They lost so much money, it's disgusting, okay? To the point where they went from the green to the red almost immediately, and they haven't been able to recover. So now that we know that little bit of context, I just kind of want to follow up on FBC Firebreak and see how it's doing on Steam. And I know I hear you. The Steam numbers don't matter. I hear you. I totally understand. Now you're also going to understand why FBC Firebreak lost them so much fucking money. Okay? This is the game that has supposedly 45,000 to 88,000 sales, which is probably somewhere in the middle. It's probably somewhere around 55,000, 60,000, but there's 14 people playing right now. Okay? With 18 for a 24-hour peak, this is probably like the developers. But regardless, this is why they lost. So it's dead. It's dead. Like it's not insulting to call a dead game dead. All right. You could get mad all you want, but the game is dead. So now this led to them doing a massive restructure because obviously when you are wasting money, you are going to have some sort of a restructure. And thankfully they're smart enough to restructure from the top and not just fire developers and keep the leadership that put them in the first place in this situation. So Remedy has now hired a new CEO. They now officially have a new CEO. And this is a EA executive who is a sports betting kind of guy and apparently is aiming to scale Remedy in a way that builds lasting value. Now, this can mean a lot of bad things. This can mean some good things. Who really knows? But I'm going to say this. If this is a EA Sports kind of a guy, he's talking about scaling Remedy in a way that builds lasting value. I'm going to say that it's probably not going to be good. But we could be hopeful, perhaps. Who knows? We'll see. Let's listen to what he's got to say. So Remedy's new CEO is Jean Charles. The fuck kind of last name is that? A former Electronic Arts and CCP Games executive who most recently headed up a couple of sports betting platforms. Well, that's interesting. Yeah, exactly. AKA microtransactions. That's exactly what's going to happen. You're going to have Max Payne release an episodic format where you're going to have to pay for each episode. I'm telling you, it's going to happen. So it's not a name you'll likely recognize from his time at EA or CCP, but Remedy said that he's held senior executive positions with full P&L responsibility at both companies. P&L being profit and loss, and right now that's apparently what they're looking for. I am delighted to announce the appointment of Gene to lead Remedy into a phase of profitable growth. Remedy chairman Henry, his proven history in growing gaming franchises and successfully leading international studios, is an excellent fit to the current stage of Remedy's business. To be fair, you really don't have much of a business, but you know, it is what it is. Under JC's leadership, we have been well positioned to significantly accelerate growth, guide Remedy toward greater independence through self-publishing, and deliver sustained value to our players, partners, and shareholders. That, in a nutshell, is how Remedy ended up needing a new CEO in the first place. It makes critically acclaimed games, but not a lot of money. Alan Wake 2 probably would have dominated the award scene in 23 if it were not for Baldur's Gate 3, and yet took well over a year before it started turning a profit. Exactly. This game was going on a year and a half plus before it made any money. And that is a long fucking time to go on a loser video game. And then, even though it started turning a profit, it doesn't matter. It's only turning a little bit of a profit because it's dragging its feet. So who cares if it took you almost 2 years to finally break even when you're making only a couple of bucks after that? It doesn't matter. But the 2025 of FBC Firebreak was a disaster, even by that standard. Remedy was forced to issue a profit warning to shareholders just a few months after its release, and shortly after that, then CEO Tero Vertala stepped down after 9 years in a row. Remedy subsequently reported a 32% decline in revenues year over year and an operating loss of 16.4 million euro, which is almost $20 million in its Q3 financial results. Oh my God. The studio has a unique creative identity and a strong pipeline. My commitment is to protect what makes it special, deliver exceptional games, and scale Remedy in a way that builds lasting value. Remedy has the voice and the ambition to be a pillar of the industry's future. We will stay close to players, earn their time and trust, and strengthen our independence in how we build and publish our games while continuing to work closely with partners who have supported us. Stop. Listen. Okay. So the whole thing about like we're gonna self-publish. It seems like they're focusing on self-publish. Good. You partnering with the fucking devil that is Epic Games was the most stupid thing you could have ever done for Alan Wake 2. It was already bad that you were fucking up the game. It was already bad that Alan Wake 2 spends half of the time not playing as Alan Wake. It was already bad, all the decisions you made regarding the game's development, that was all already bad. And then you locked it behind a store that can't even fucking beat Steam in a year versus what it takes Steam to make in like 3 weeks. What the fuck? What is wrong with you? Why would you do any of that? It's the dumbest thing in the world. You literally nerfed your entire customer base while also shitting on the more hardcore customer base. What was your plan? I don't understand what your plan for any of this was. But the reason why is because, to my knowledge, Epic Games invested heavily into the development of Alan Wake 2. And it's because of that obviously Tim Sweeney, that hates Steam so much. It's like Steam is bad for business. Apparently, Mr. Tim Sweeney, Mr. Exclusive, was like, you know what's good for business? Let me take your game, invest into it, and then let me lock it behind my store because everybody loves exclusives on the PC platform. That's always gone very well. Here's my fake numbers that's going to make you believe that somehow my platform is better for you than Steam. It's just, again, it's the dumbest thing, truthfully. So I think that this might not necessarily be a good thing, but it also might not necessarily be a bad thing. It truthfully all just depends. But at the end of the day, the one thing I don't want to say is that it can't get worse, because obviously it can. It can. It absolutely can. We already know that it could get much worse for Remedy, but hopefully it doesn't. And we have obviously Control 2 that's coming out. And like I said, the trailer did look good. No doubt about it. I want to see more. We didn't really get to see too much gameplay. I want to see more. But I like the first Control. I definitely like the first Control. So I am excited for the second one. And hopefully it does pan out to be a game that most people enjoy. But hopefully they don't lock it behind Epic Games exclusivity, which I don't think they are. So we'll see how that goes.